Okay, I am talking about extreme PMS with Tanya Stricek. Tanya, do you want to tell us a little bit about what you do, please?
Absolutely. Thank you for having me, Emily. I am a nutritionist. I'm a holistic nutritionist, but I really am passionate about the non-diet approach, and I teach tuning into your body with a mindful eating flair in my method, the Fullness Method. I have a podcast, the Fullness Podcast, where I like to bring non-diet tips, but also story about women to women. And Emily has been featured on the Fullness Podcast in the first season, episode 4, so you should catch that. And I'm an ex-dental hygienist, so I'm still very passionate about oral health and how it connects to the entire body and how important it is as we travel through perimenopause and menopause.
Awesome. So, extreme PMS, it's horrible. When we're in it, it's a horrible, horrible thing. What's going on?
That's an excellent question. I have to actually think back to how I felt when I had terrible PMS. And I want to clarify in a little bit between PMS and more severe types of PMS, because extreme PMS can be medical conditions. And of course, this isn't medical advice. We're going to talk generally here. If you think you have a clinical condition, a psychological condition with your menstrual symptoms, seek help from a doctor, right?
Absolutely.
So what is going on? Well, there's many theories, talk all about what PMS is. I've seen it explained as an estrogen and progesterone issue. I've seen it explained as a water retention issue, a body stress issue, emotional tension, and it's everything. There is a lot on the internet right now that will rebut the fact that we have hormonal imbalance. But when you think about the stresses that we face day to day, in that perimenopause, menopause transition, we're all still working, our bodies are changing, our partnerships with our workplace and even the people that we live with might be changing. There is a lot of stress. So what happens? We shut down digestion when we're stressed, and we need digestion's connection to hormones. The nervous system has an axis, the HPA axis, hypothalamus, pituitary, adrenal, which is weight. We don't need to go there, but that nervous system gets affected by stress. And what governs hormones? Your nervous system. They're tied to. So PMS can feel like you've been hit by a truck, and so many processes can be happening. But before I even go in there, did you know that there's actually types of PMS?
Go on, hit me.
Okay, so PMS-A, which is anxious anxiety PMS. So that may be due to high estrogen and low progesterone. And then we have, which I think a lot of us will relate to, PMS-C, carbohydrate or cravings. So
yeah.
This can be related to some of us who carry through with a high carb diet, and no diet judgments here, going to give some general advice about diet, but this could be related to high carb and low what we call prostaglandin E type foods, fish, nuts, seeds. So those prostaglandins play a role in inflammation, pain, etc. And then we have another one called type H or W, and that's like the hydration or hyperhydration, water retention PMS. And all of us can have a combination of these things too, right? But this is where we're bloated, or we feel like we gained 5 pounds in a night, the boobs explode, and this could be due to like high aldosterone and fluid retention. Last one I would say would be type D or PMSD, which is more of the depressive type. So you could have low E, low estrogen, high progesterone, and estrogen I use as a blanket because there are 3 types of estrogen. I just made a new hormone.
Hey.
So you could have the low estrogen, high progesterone, but also imbalance of male hormones in there too. And then other things, because I don't think we can really just state a depressive state on, well, it's PMS, because a lot of us have been to the doctor for various ailments to hear, well, it's just XYZ. There you go. Off you go, right? But building off of that type D, this depression state, there is PMDD. So that's premenstrual dysphoric disorder. And this is a severe form of PMS where it can be chronic, like a medical condition, and it needs treatment. And so, yes, lifestyle changes can help the person who might be suffering with this. They may have a family history of it. There can be postpartum depression, psychosis, mood disorders, depression, all of it. So this is where you need to seek medical attention. And I do have a list of symptoms, but we can go over that later if you like.
I think the how do I unravel this? So with PMDD, I know I've heard of so many women who have had it belittled and just said, oh, it's just your hormones, oh, it's just the time of the month. And it's like, no, they are a different person for those few days. They are just totally not themselves. And even that is doing down how horrible PMDD is. But also, whichever type of PMS somebody experiences, it's like you're not your own person in those days, isn't it?
Yes, yes. I mean, I hear things and have read things. Being in the holistic health space, there will be claims that no period should feel terrible, that there is a root cause to why you feel the way you do, whether it's pain or irritability. But that doesn't negate someone's experience. And then there are more conventional medical readings that will say most women at some point in their life will experience discomfort or PMS type symptoms. And when you look at even the symptoms of PMDD and the things that we all experience, and let's face it, I think as we get to perimenopause, we can all agree that some of these really get worse, right? Yeah. They look like PMS, but I mean, I have them in front of me, things like severe fatigue or depression, confusion, poor self-image, lack of control, anger, vomiting, pelvic pressure. We can all put it down to PMS, but we really need a calm and caring patient physician to pull out if some of these particular neurological or psychological things are leading someone to stay in bed for days at a time and interrupting their daily living and even the way that their social engagements are too, right?
And this is the thing, and I'm slightly going off on a tangent here, but it's something that really really angers me. I feel like still as soon as we present to a doctor with anything to do with our menstrual cycle, it's sort of slightly brushed aside, as though, well, of course women have period pain, that's normal. And so we sort of think, well, oh, okay, well, it's normal, so I just have to suck it up for however many days a month. When actually there is, yes, some cramping goes with having periods, because the very nature of what is biologically happening means that some cramping will probably occur. But if you are bedridden for 4 days each month, that is not normal.
Yes, and if you have serious mood swings, feelings of depression and suicide, that is not normal either. And I even, just to harken back to what you said about the physician saying, oh, well, it's this or that, you know, how many times have we seen in the hub, and ladies in the hub, if you're watching this, not to slag your doctor's diagnosis, but there's many women who come worried about their hormones and they're given an antidepressant. And what are we really doing there? You know, and maybe we are treating the root cause. Maybe we're treating what needs to be treated, but then that brings us back to ourselves to reassess. Okay, maybe I'm going to take this medication, but now how do I feel? How can I function in my day? Has this symptom lessened? Has that symptom lessened? And then, you know, we have to go back and advocate for ourselves again too.
And it does feel like we're having to advocate a lot, like we're actually having to just fight quite often. And that's where holistic practitioners like you and like a lot of the other experts in the hub can be absolutely worth your weight in gold, because you actually look at the whole person.
And it is nice to be able to find somebody too that can combine the experiences of both, or be able to refer you to a doctor while they look at, say, your Dutch test, your urine test for your hormones, or look at other aspects of your lifestyle while you still seek medical attention. And I think sometimes people are nervous of holistic approaches because it's looked at like we're just going to forego the rest of it, but that's where integrative, right? Integrative is so important.
Absolutely. And just as looking at each of us as a whole individual needs to happen, so our healthcare is going to come from different aspects. You know, you don't go to a neurologist with a broken leg. So finding the right people to help you. And it doesn't need to be just one person. It doesn't need to be one practitioner. It might be a nutritionist and a yoga teacher for some people. It might be a medical doctor and a psychiatrist for somebody else. And there's no right or wrong to that, is there?
No, and you're actually bringing about something that I love to add in when we talk about PMS, this time of life in anything, is that you don't know where the emotional aspect of your needs is going to be fulfilled. So if you ring true with a physician, a yoga teacher that has you looking at life a little bit differently at this time in your life, or a nutritionist who never, you had 1 hour and now you're thinking completely differently about your body, and you've got a few little tools to just move on. You just never know where you're going to pull in things that feed your soul, because when you are less stressed too, your symptoms may change for the better.
Absolutely, absolutely. And by the time we've got to our 40s and 50s, chances are we've acquired a fair bit of stress along the way.
Isn't that the truth, right? And, I think that's the thing when I think about menopause, which I've been in for quite a long time. It's got a taboo feeling to it. Like
Still.
Either that people look at it like, tell me there's relief out there, which there is. But it also has this like taboo feeling to it. But what I feel with it too is that nobody's talking about the sense of loss we feel going through perimenopause and menopause, the loss of, and maybe it's rebirth, like it's a time to change it into rebirth. But that is something that needs to be, that emotional component needs to be brought in as well. Because if you are feeling like your life is falling down the rabbit hole in not a good way, then when you have cramps, because when you feel like that, what do? Do you care for yourself? Well, sometimes you just lay in bed. We may drink more, we may smoke more, and all of this is just going to compound our PMS symptoms.
Yeah, absolutely. And what you touched on there with the grief aspect of it, if your PMS is getting worse each month and you are dealing with, even if you don't actually want any more children, but you're dealing with the grief of not being able to, of that aspect of your life, that door closing, then with every cycle, it can almost be an extra slap around the face of, well, we're going to give you a period, but I don't know how many more, which means your time's running out. Or if you're someone like me who's never wanted children and has very fortunately not had to deal with the grief aspect in that respect, each period you think, seriously, I didn't want these in the first place. Can we just stop now? And each of us, as it gets worse, as the PMS gets worse, as our hormones change through perimenopause, it doesn't really matter which side of that fence you're on. Each period can feel like a really big thing. Whereas, in your 20s and 30s, it's just a period, isn't it? It's just,
Yeah.
period. Yeah.
I actually love that you brought that up, because it's an unwanted invader in your life at times. And I don't think, when we talk about losing our period, I think there's a lot of chatter, of course, about the loss of bearing children and all of that. But you know what? It's also a reminder, whether you have kids or not, that your age, it's really that age now, and it is a wake-up call, and it might be of regret, what I didn't do, what I haven't done, and where is my life going now. So when there's that loss of period and you're into your 50s, we all don't have to have children to be thinking about the road ahead. Like, how long is it now?
Yeah. And also, oh God, have I got my retirement sorted out? No. Oh
Lord.
God, how am I gonna, and suddenly all these different things start coming into place, things that in your 20s and 30s just weren't even on the radar. And suddenly, as your body changes and you start having to actually actively think about the second half of your life, you think, ooh, have I really got things lined up how they're meant to be? How are they meant to be?
Yeah. And how do I want them to be?
Yeah. So adding into that, this kind of crescendo of emotion every month, whether it's down the anxiety route, the depression route, whether it's the emotion that goes with physically feeling stodgy around that time, with all of the rest of that going on as a backdrop to it, it's not really surprising that PMS can become so much bigger in this sort of life stage.
No, it's not. And, while there's things that we can do as far as nutrition, of course, can we all eat better, right? There's times we can all eat better.
Yeah.
There's things you can do, but I mean, not everything is within our control. We do have genetics that rule our body. We do have pre-programmed processes that it's just the way it is. And I don't mean to say that in a defeated sense. You know, as far as nutrition, yes, you could add in more fruits and vegetables the week, say, before leading up to your period. Maybe pay attention to how much alcohol, how much carbohydrates, sugar. Balancing blood sugar is important, not in the sense that you have to cut out sugar, but maybe if you're having a slice of something, pair it with, that's when you have maybe your nuts and a little bit of protein to balance your blood sugar. Eat regularly and start being a curiosity, like go on a quest of your own body, which is, I know, something that you teach, Emily, and start to see, okay, my PMS was a little different this month. I felt less bloated. I had a lot of water and I felt more energy. Start to investigate.
I know personally for me, the rage that used to come in that premenstrual time for me was always, and I often didn't spot it, but I've realized that this is the thing, it was when I was hangry.
Oh, I relate to that.
And most of the time, yep, hangry, it's fine, I'm just a bit, you know, just need to eat something. But before I knew what was going on with my body, and while everything felt out of control, there would be a day of my cycle when, if food didn't happen exactly when it needed to happen, just the Incredible Hulk appeared.
And we forget what food and mood does, you know? So while people may say you should track all your calories on a fitness app, and okay, what about your food and mood? You know, a food and mood guide, even just a mood tracker, like a general, I felt like this today, I didn't eat, or ate this. That's a way to tune in without having to go on a diet and start to add in, you know, and we do need to have a good amount of healthy fiber in that digestive system. If you find that you eat raw veggies or certain things and you bloat, then you may have bacterial issues in your gut. And we do need to have some nice healthy fats. We shouldn't be afraid of fats. So having our fish, having our nuts, taking your fish oil supplements, your evening primrose, those things may help. Just that all around, I hate to use the word balanced eating because, you know, sometimes it's a misnomer, but just adding in things that you know will support you going to the bathroom with that, which actually pulls out metabolites of your hormones and puts them in the toilet rather than recirculating. And do the best you can, explore, add in.
100%. And just to pick up on what you said about sort of tracking calories, it can become such an obsessive thing to do. And I know this is not just me for a long shot, but when you're in the PMS phase, if you are trying to track your calories because you've got an idea of weight that you need to stick to or whatever, because your body is craving different things at that time in the month to in the epic week, as I like to refer to it, you run out of calories potentially quite quickly. Now, that doesn't mean that you're a failure. That doesn't mean you don't have willpower. That's that your body needs different stuff at that time. And actually, if you eat for satisfaction, and I'm not meaning by that this idea when people first sort of start looking at mindful eating, I think people think, oh, I'll eat for satisfaction. That means I'll just eat Dominoes all the time. It's like, no, that's not going to satisfy you at all. But if you eat for satisfaction of, what do my emotions need now? Do they need food or do they need something else? What do I physically need now? Do I need food or do I need something else? When your food becomes a part of your overall, what do I need for satisfaction? You tend to eat more nourishing foods because that's what you need for satisfaction. You tend to move your body more because that's what you need for satisfaction. You tend to seek out ways to minimize stress because that's what you need for satisfaction. But because we've been kind of programmed to stop listening to our body, we try to shoehorn ourselves into this magic number of calories as though that will be the same every day for the rest of our lives because somebody told us that that's the number of calories we should have, rather than taking into account all of these other things that are happening all the time.
Oh, yes. That's actually so beautiful the way you put that, because when you think about if we stop thinking about food and we start thinking more about nourishment, and nourishment on every different level of the phases of your cycle, it's going to look different. And you will start to notice that there will be phases of your cycle that you actually need more rest. So are you hangry and tired? That's important. And I love the way you framed all that.
And it's being kind to yourself. You know, I know there's this sort of Instagram version of self-care, which is all petals and flowers and hot baths and, you know, but to me, self-care starts from just, what does my body need right now?
Yes.
And just stopping and taking that. And actually, I was speaking to another Hub expert yesterday, and she has 4 questions that she gets people to set a timer, or not, but set up a sort of a random thing that pops up on their phone whenever during the day, so that they just get into the habit of checking in with themselves. It's, where am I? So physically, and I'm going to get this wrong, but anyway. What am I doing? How am I feeling? And what do I need? Or something like that. And it's just, and they don't need to be more complicated than, where am I in the supermarket? How am I feeling? Fed up because people are in the way. What do I need right now to get home? And whatever, you know. But it's again that thing of just, it ties in with my constant talk about tracking your cycle. It ties in with your mindful eating. It ties in with all of that, of just going, okay, let's ask me. Because deep down, I know exactly what I need at any moment. But external factors tell me that I shouldn't trust that.
Yes. Yes. 100%. Some women don't know what they need though, right? So how do we start that?
Absolutely. And that's a trickier conversation. But
I'm sorry to interrupt you.
But it can start with just tracking your cycle, so that you understand
Yes.
that there are the different times in your cycle, and forgiving yourself for the PMS, saying, okay, today I feel really anxious, and because I know that my period is coming in 2 days' time, that's okay. I'm just going to have a duvet day, and it's okay. I'm going to hug the cat or the dog, and I'm going to do the things that nourish me to feel less anxious about the world, as opposed to constantly trying to sort of push through all of this and not doing what's going to nourish me, but going, well, the external world expects me to present the same every day, therefore this anxiety, I need to remove it. It's a bad thing, I need to get rid of it. And it's like, but actually it's your body giving you another bit of information. And maybe it is your body saying, actually, this one day a month you need to just stay inside and watch Netflix, and that's okay.
Yes. Yes. Give yourself that permission to do so. Yes.
Sorry, I took over talking there. Back to you, Tanya.
No, it's okay. You know what, when we were saying about how do you do that, you know, my first thing, because I have always explained I'm a type A personality. I was working in a busy dental clinic. I had lost my spouse. I found a new spouse. We blended families. Like it was and my mother was sick. So, and I had to run every morning 10K. I had to. I had to stay healthy. This is where I crashed my entire system. And I started with a breath. I started between patients, allowing myself an extra 30 whole seconds to take a deep breath, because I couldn't buy into, at the time, like meditation, sitting, being quiet. I was an overdoer. Overdoers tend to be overeaters and not take care of themselves. So use your analogy of the 4 questions, or words like HALT, which is taken from AA. Are you hungry, angry, lonely, or tired? Or I will say pause. Just pause. Pause before your meal. How are you feeling? Pause while you're in the supermarket. Yeah, pissed off. You know, and practice asking yourself these questions. Just pause, because we don't take time to just be. It's very hard to just be, right? You don't have time to just be. But if you allow yourself to just do that little like pause, you'll start to incorporate that more.
And that's the thing. And I think you've absolutely hit the nail on the head there, because when we're caught up in this cycle of beating ourselves up because we're bloated, or because we're feeling down, or because we're angry, or whatever, the idea of stopping and meditating feels like it's an impossible task, because we've suddenly got to we're adding an extra stress into our lives, basically, to try to alleviate it. We're going, well, now I've got to find half an hour. Well, where am I going to find that from? Stress, panic, shout. as opposed to exactly as you say, pause. Okay, wow, okay, I just needed to stop for a second.
Yeah.
And breathe. Right, carry on.
Yeah.
And everybody has space in their life to do that.
And we should try and make it, I wish I knew these things back in that time. I mean, don't we all? But I can see how I got so sick from denying myself food, denying myself, and even medical attention at times, because I thought I needed to be this, and that for other people. Yes. And that's what I hear from women in the hub. Some of the things that I read in there, I'm like, yeah, I totally know where you are, sister.
Yep, 100%. Yep, absolutely. And I saw something that it wasn't in the hub, it was in another group. Somebody was really cross, actually, and understandably, because they'd seen a post which implied that post-menopause, suddenly you find your sense of self and you find your sense of purpose and you stop dealing with all the bullshit. And I thought, actually, do you know what, that really speaks to me, because now my tolerance for what other people think of me, I still get really hurt if somebody says something hurtful or if somebody's nasty to me. That's never going to go. That's just who I am. But I no longer feel like I need to apologize for taking up this amount of space. I no longer feel like I need to apologize for being Emily shaped. And I think that's something I want to imbue to everybody in the hub. And I mean, everybody, why stop at the hub? Let's just take the whole world. Get everybody to have that a kind of childish thing of, I just am who I am and I need what I need. And I don't need to apologize for that. I just am who I am and I need what I need. And that changes on a day-by-day basis. It changes on a moment-by-moment basis. And if I'm a 2-year-old, I don't think, oh, better not ask for a biscuit this time because, or I better not need the loo right now. Because if you need the loo or you want a biscuit or you need a sleep, that's what you do as a 2-year-old. Mm-hmm. You don't question it. No. And then as we get older, we think, oh, I've got to somehow mold myself to everybody else's expectations. And it's like, well, actually, maybe just, look at 2-year-old you and just go, what do I actually need right now? Do I need to sleep? Okay. And if I don't physically have the time right now to sleep, what can I do that will just nourish me enough to get me through to the time when I can sleep?
That is brilliant. And so apropos, because what you made me think of was that you're staking your claim. And, you might be at a busy work day where, you're thinking about, I don't have time. How am I going to ask myself what I need? I need a 2-hour nap, but I can't. Isn't that a time where you can actually start to question, where am I working? Where I get so stressed out that I actually I couldn't even go to the bathroom when I needed to go in my old job.
Yeah. And that's where, your extreme PMS can actually be a really good source of identifying those things in your life. Going, right, okay, each month I notice that I feel this sense of being trapped or this sense of overwhelm or the sense of whatever it is that, and the specific word of what it is different for each person. But what is going on in my life that when my hormones collide and everything comes together at that point in my cycle, that I always feel like that? What little changes maybe could I be implementing that whilst, yes, my hormones will collide at that time and some things will always annoy me. I mean, the other day I swore at my chickens because they got in the way. And I knew that was my PMS day and that's fine. But if every month you get to a point of utter dread because you've got to go to such and such an office or you've got to see such and such person, is it time to start listening and start nourishing yourself by working out how you can find workarounds for that?
Yes, that's so good. And it is a time to listen. And, we started thinking that this would be about nutrition, but there's listening to your body for food, but there's also listening to your body in the sense that what led up to, say, the meltdown? Was it just the hormones or were there other contributing factors? And this is such a learning experience for us.
Yeah. And I mean, if every month you lose your shit at someone in the office, a specific person in the office, they're probably an asshole and you're probably being too nice the rest of the time.
I knew you were going to say that. I was going to be like, maybe you should get them fired.
But maybe it isn't always on you that you have to bite your tongue. If somebody is genuinely always and every month, when that filter drops because everything else is going on in your body, if every time that's aimed at the same person, maybe that's a clue.
And maybe there's something about that person that is triggering something in you, because it may not be the person.
Absolutely.
What does that person trigger in you? I have a person in my life who I just saw her on the weekend, and I was talking about buying a new coat because COVID, my coat doesn't fit. It almost fits, but the zipper's like, right? And so she said, well, it's your hips. But she didn't say it in a way that was negative, or she just said, well, yeah, I guess it's your hips, and then moved on to have her cup of coffee, right? And my immediate reaction was like, what
Bitch.
Right? Yeah, but you know what? That had nothing to do with her. And I realized, that's my trigger about my own body. Yeah.
And that's always a really interesting one, isn't it? When somebody really annoys you at a time when you just simply have no filter, actually stopping and going, oh, I see, they were doing what I do. That's annoying. That's more annoying. Damn it. I've identified that I always look at my hips and make a comment about them. They don't have the right to do that. They've just taken my self-hatred. How dare they?
Yes.
And that's quite scary. But I think all of these things, and PMS and perimenopause, both of them, I mean, interchangeable at certain times, give us such a window on ourselves if we choose to stop and look.
Absolutely. And I think that was a big shift for me personally, where I stopped looking at things happening to me as like, why me all the time? And I had to shift my thinking around, okay, so this happened. How do I feel about it? Why do I feel about it this way? And is there anything that I have control over? Because there's things that happen we have no control over. How can I control how I'm feeling? Because literally I'm not living my best life like this.
Yeah. And those things, when you actually stop and think about it, can be something so completely left field that you would never have actually figured it out for yourself, unless you stop and let your body tell you. Your brain will go, I don't know, do I need Netflix? Probably not. Do I need chocolate? Maybe, but probably not. And then you might go, oh, I need to go and spend half an hour with such and such a person because they always make me feel better, or I need to lie in a darkened room or whatever.
Yeah.
Imagine a world in which we're all just in tune with our bodies.
We'd all be walking down the street going, pausing. Stop the lights, pausing.
With just pausing. Time out.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah, okay, maybe not. Although in a world of masks, it's quite handy because you can be in the supermarket going, where am I? I'm in the supermarket. What am I doing? No one can see.
But it is possible, when I first start working with people and I talk about eating mindfully, some of the tiny things I do add in is just before you're about to eat, whatever it is, pause. How do you feel about yourself? How do you feel about what you're eating? What thoughts are in your head? Are they judgmental? Can you take a deep breath? Nobody has to know that at the dinner table. You're done.
Absolutely. And just staying on food is so much more than just fuel. It provides us with so many connections with people and family and reward and punishment and comfort and so many things. And just pausing. And this, I think, is the part of mindful and or intuitive eating, depending on which route you've gone down, blah, blah, blah. I won't go into that now. It's the part that I think is the most powerful, is stopping, pausing. What do I need right now? What is this food providing me? Is this food filling an actual hunger? Brilliant. Is this food providing an emotional comfort? Fine. Is the setting of this meal, so I've got all my friends around me, is the food actually secondary because it's the occasion that's important? But all of those things happen around food.
Yes, and it's such a connector, whether you're by yourself making, like, what did I make recently? Something my mom, it's a soup that my mom used to make. So I'm connecting with something and it feels good. Is the soup nutritious? It just so happened to be. But when I make another recipe of hers that's full of sugar, it's not, but I still feel connected, you know, and it's allowing yourself to explore these layers of connection to your food and taking inner wisdom, which is what I know about myself, and we have to hone that all the time. Outer wisdom, which is what is Tanya telling me to eat for PMS, and pulling it in to be like your wisdom.
And I just, random analogy just popped into my head. Go with me on this. When it comes to food, because of diet culture and all that sort of bullshit, we make quite a lot of judgments on ourselves. Oh, I shouldn't eat this cake, and I've been bad today. That drives me mad. Blah, blah, blah. Do we ever do the same with music? Because we can make ourselves feel just as great with music. We can get just as much connection with music. We can make ourselves think of a specific loved one through music. We can create music. We can. I mean, I can't because I've got no musical bone in my body. But it can uplift us. It can make us sad. It can comfort us. It can. We don't go, well, I was listening to Metallica. I must be such an evil person. We don't do that, do we? And yet somehow we go, oh, I ate a cake. I must be a really bad person.
I love that analogy. I never thought of it that way.
Nor did I. It just popped into my head.
No, it's very good. So I don't feel guilty for listening to Eminem swear anymore.
No.
At all. No, it's true. You know, it's funny how we have assigned moral value to how we eat, what we eat, how we look, and it's got nothing to do with it, with morals, really.
No, absolutely. This has taken us away from PMS slightly, but it doesn't matter.
Well, but when you're in the thick of PMS, how do you feel about your body? Probably
Absolutely.
pretty crappy, right?
And do you start do those judgments come out more and more? And would you judge yourself if in the throes of PMS you need to listen to Morrissey and just be angry and upset with the world? You wouldn't think, oh God, no, I need to put on S Club 7 because I need to be jolly.
Yeah.
Would you?
No.
But if at the same time you thought, do you know what? My body is just asking me for a really stodgy, pasta-y dish, you wouldn't go, well, you should be. What we do then do is go, oh no, we mustn't have the pasta, we must have a salad. But the salad doesn't leave you feeling at all sated, which, if you take it to the music analogy, which, you know, my brain goes down funny places, if the Smiths record is going to make you feel sated because it's hit all those, you know, anger and sadness and everything, and if the pasta is going to do the equivalent, then why would you have the salad, which is the S Club 7?
And hate it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Although, maybe to round out on the food notes with PMS, I would invite anybody who is here listening to maybe just spend a month observing. So if you're the type of lady who's like, I can't stay off the chocolate for 7 days of the month, I just want to eat chocolate, chocolate, chocolate. What happened before? How much did you deny yourself physically, emotionally? How much are you denying yourself eating wise when in now a time when maybe your body is craving calories and your hormones are changing? You know, that brain is driving you for some stimulation and it happens to be chocolate. What would things look like if you ate balanced up until that time, allowed yourself a few treats here and there rather than deny, deny, deny? How would that look? Maybe spend a month of just being curious about your symptoms and your food. Excuse me.
And I'm going to add a layer to that. I'm running with this music analogy completely. But in that same time, be curious about what music you want.
Yeah.
Be curious about what movement you want. Be curious about what people you want around you. Be curious of all those things, because there will be a correlation.
I like your music analogy because you know what does music signify to me? To me, it's the mood I'm in. So you can identify, if you have a hard time tuning into what's happening up here, what do you feel like listening to? Maybe that'll help you identify your mood.
That's what I'm thinking. That's where I'm going with that. Will the CD that you would automatically reach for, the playlist you would put on, the the decade you would choose, whatever, will that help you to unravel where your mind is at so that you understand what's happening with everything else around you?
Yeah. I love it.
I mean, it's worth trying, isn't it?
Totally. Why not? And music is healing.
Absolutely. And it still provides the connection. It still provides all of the things that food brings us, barring the actual sustenance, you know, the actual physical fuel. It doesn't bring us that. I get that. But if the food that you are reaching for is going to be addressing some sort of an emotion, try the music analogy and see what music you need, because that will give you a much clearer idea of whether you're wanting the emotion to be dealt with or whether you're wanting fuel.
Yes. Oh, I like that.
Wow. As we said before we started recording, we had no idea where this was going to go.
Another world problem solved.
Right. On that note, right, bringing this back, in terms of nutrition, are there any little simple things that people can do that can just help them to sort of alleviate the worst of PMS?
Yes, there are, you know, and this is a blanket statement, but having less caffeine at times to decrease stress on your nervous system, that can be helpful. That also dehydrates you and it depletes you of minerals. One of the most important minerals is magnesium, and magnesium does need to be paired with things like calcium. And so some people need more than others. There's certain types of magnesium. Some will help you go to the bathroom if you have constipation, but it can also help you with your PMS symptoms, right? You also want to, I hate to say it, pay attention to the alcohol, because unfortunately that does not help us at certain times of the month, right? And there are certainly painkillers, ibuprofen you can take for cramps, but you could also try things like arnica oil, hot water bottles, a hot bath, which can double. You know, you can put magnesium salts in the bath, and now you've given yourself a time to maybe relax and be quiet with a book in a bath with essential oils, which is kind of lovely for you. That can be an alternative to, say, painkillers. Only you know what you know. Those things do affect your gut health. Try movement. There are some people who find that light movement, if you're a killer workout woman, what would it look like to have light movement leading up to your period or through your period? Mindful movement, reflective movement, and try and just keep that blood sugar balanced. You know, you intermittent fasters, I love you all. And I understand that some people go to, I'm not trying to be an ass, because there are people who have controlled their blood sugar through fasting. It's not for everybody though. So if you're going into a control method of eating when you don't have your blood sugar under like control, or you're doing it for other reasons, you may be causing yourself more stress than you need. I don't even know if that came out okay. So
it did. That made perfect sense. And I think, yeah, intermittent fasting, when you haven't got everything else in place behind the scenes, can very quickly lead you to hangry if the other stuff isn't right. But yes, cool.
Vitamins too, B vitamins, you know, iron and B vitamins are something that vegetarians, vegans do lack. So there may be some supplementation needed there. I know I found a lot of success with omega-3 fatty acids. I did take fish oil. I took a fair bit. I experimented with myself. I know my own body. And so for those listening, do some research, reach out to one of the nutritionists in the hub, one of the doctors in the hub. There are lots of people that you can draw on for that type of advice.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Tanya.
Thank you, Emily.
It's been hilarious and great fun as always.
Yes, until we meet again.